Well, we're here in the National Air and Space Museum to talk about the Evelyn Kendall ballooning and early aviation collection. It was collected by Mrs. Kendall in the 1900s, and it's a collection that's about 700 artifacts and artworks related to ballooning and other early aircraft. So Greta is going to talk about conserving the collection.
We're actually both here to take care of the Kendall collection in different ways. Like Vanessa said, I'm a conservator, and my specialty is in paper and photographic materials. Most of the paper came to us in very good condition. However, a few pieces needed a little extra help before they're able to go in the storage. This print, for example, came to us with several edge tears, and whatever they had been repaired with in the past unfortunately left staining on the paper. In order to fix these stains and tears, I bathed the paper, which helped reduce some of the stains. Unfortunately, 2 of the corners were missing, but in order to repair that, I made 2 new corners out of an archival paper, which I toned to match the original paper. And when I paste these back on with wheat starch paste, which is a traditional adhesive used in paper conservation, it'll look almost as if no damage had occurred. One of our other favorite pieces in the collection is this pocket watch, which has an enamel of the Montgolfier balloon on the back. This balloon flew in 1783. The watch itself has colorless stones all around the bezel, and a guilloche pattern, which is like machining around the bezel as well. It has a lead dial and a lead crystal. The crystal is the glass that covers the dial, and the dial is the face. It also opens up to show us the movement on the inside, which is made out of gold-plated brass, gold, blued steel screws, and a silver regulator. Now, because this object is metal, one of my colleagues who specializes in metal will be able to handle it.
So my job is I'm a museum specialist with the collections processing unit. So that entails cataloging everything, putting it in proper storage, and taking photographs of all the objects so that we can put them in the database so we don't have to pull every object out of storage every time a curator or researcher wants to look at it. So this is an example of one of our objects. This is a bandbox or hat box it was made roughly in the 1850s. And it's commemorating a flight that was done by Richard Clayton in Ohio in 1835. And you can see here an example of the type of boxes I'm making for the objects to reduce handling and protect it in storage. Now, normally this would have a lid, but you can see it has a drop front so that we can open the box, and then you don't have to reach into the box to get the object. We can just slide it out. And then these little stoppers keep the object in place so that it won't wobble around when you're trying to carry the box. And it also has a lid as well, which we've removed to show you the object.
We were very fortunate to also collect a number of 18th and 19th century silk and paper folding fans in this collection. The one on the left is made out of silk, mother of pearl, and metal gilding, as well as metal sequins and metal threads and paint in the middle to embellish the fan. These were high fashion items that women of high society would have used. Now, what's interesting about this fan on the right is that it came to us in a box marked Duverroy. Duverroy was a company founded by Jean-Pierre Duverroy in Paris in 1827. The fan, however, is actually dated much earlier than that, and it's possible that this fan may have been sold later in this box, repurposed by the company. What's also interesting about the box, too, is that there's an address for their London address. They didn't move to London until the Victorian era, and also that address wasn't in use until 1927 to 1965. So even though this fan is dated much earlier than the company itself, it's quite possible that it was just repurposed. The fan on the left is actually a 20th century production, also by the Duverroy company, because there's a signature on the back of one of the sticks. This fan is also made out of silk, but it has mica windows, which were a very creative embellishment with a little balloon painting in the center of one of them. And there's also a looking glass at the head of the fan. To make objects in the style of the late 19th century was very popular in the early 20th century in Europe.
And it's amazing that these fans, especially this one with how old it is, has lasted in such good condition. These are very sensitive to light, humidity, any sort of damage, and a lot have not lasted this long, so we're very fortunate to have them. So to continue keeping them in such good condition, I had to work really hard to make sure that they had very stable storage conditions. So as you can see, I've created pillows for each of the fans to sit on, and because fans have a gradient and they go up a slope, I couldn't just make a flat pillow. I had to very carefully go level by level, and I used thin layers of what we call ethifoam, and I did one by one and slowly created a slope so that the fan can rest comfortably on the pillow and there will be no stress put on it. So this is another example of the types of objects that people were decorating with balloons in the 18th and 19th centuries. A lot of people, when they think of the birth of flight, they think of the Wright brothers. But actually, flight started a lot earlier with ballooning, and people were very excited about it, so they were putting balloons on anything they could, including the fans, hat boxes, and this here is a snuff box. And you can see it's decorated with a ballooning scene. There's a balloon rising into the air with a crowd watching below, and it's made from very fine materials. It's made from a very lovely type of wood, and it has a tortoise shell inlay inside.